Yeah, okay. Here we go. There's the big one. Over there you get the cog railway, where they take you up in a cog train up to the summit of Mount Washington, which is currently obscured by clouds, as a subtle reference to Pink Floyd. Just kidding. But yeah, we're here at the base of the Ammonoosuc Ravine trailhead. We're going to go up about, I think, all in all, this is only actually 4,000 feet elevation that we're going to increase because we're already up pretty high here at this base station. But we're going to go up Mt. Monroe, hopefully, Washington, hopefully, that is the plan. I probably won't spend too much time looking at the plants down in the sub-alpine forest because we saw plenty of that yesterday. And instead today, our focus is going to be on what's up there in that alpine tundra, up about 4,500 to 5,500 feet. And then, weather permitting, we'll take a jaunt up to the summit where there won't be many plants, but we'll take a look at some of the cool lichen. Winds today are supposed to be between 25 and 40 miles per hour, which is reasonable in my opinion. Okay, we're not going to spend too much time here because we got to get going. About 2.1 miles up the trail and about 2,000 feet above where we're currently standing is all the interesting stuff. But let me take a moment to explain what the river that we're hiking up is. This is the Ammonoosuc River right here, and this functionally runs from the headwaters of it are actually right at a hut we'll be stopping at briefly. Actually, we'll be going by it quite a few times because we're going to crisscross the alpine terrain a little bit to maximize our potential of seeing two of our target species today, Geum peckii, which is a nearly endemic member of the rose family in the genus Geum, basically essentially native to the White Mountains and to a couple little islands off the coast of Nova Scotia. So nearly endemic to New England, functionally endemic to the Northeast, and then specifically within the two areas that it's native, those two populations. The White Mountains is by far the larger of the two. That's typically, I've seen it on Cannon Mountain, which is quite a ways away from here, so fairly broad distribution. It was this time of year, and allegedly it's quite a common flower in certain areas up on the alpine zone. I did not see it in the alpine zone before, but I digress. The other plant we'll be looking for is another member of the rose family, actually, a true narrow endemic member of the rose family, member of the genus Potentilla, which can be boring, common dishweeds, and can be quite interesting. There's a lot of variation in that genus, commonly called the cinquefoils. This is Potentilla robinsiana, robin cinquefoil, the dwarf mountain cinquefoil, which essentially only exists in a small area of alpine terrain stretched between the summit of Mt. Monroe, which we'll be going up to, and the summit of Mount Washington, which we'll be going up to. And in fact, I believe that it is functionally, its population is basically occurring right outside the Lake of the Clouds hut. We'll talk a little bit more about it when we get up there. If we see it, hopefully it's in flower. This is the right time of year. A bunch of stuff should be in flower. They had some rough weather recently, but enough of me yammering. Hopefully next time I load this thing, I'm either showing you a plant we didn't see yesterday, or I'm up in the alpine zone checking in. So with that, geez, I can't talk. I'm excited. But bearing all that in mind, we're going to continue on, and I'll check in with you as necessary. But hopefully I can just bang out these 2 miles up to the alpine zone, and we'll be well on our way to looking at some cool plants. And geez, I neglected to mention, so the Ammonoosuc River, this goes down around the north end of the White Mountains and eventually connects with the Connecticut River. So this is one of the headwaters of the the Connecticut River they got there. Real nice. This entire mountain range feeds 3 major river systems throughout New England. This is the Ammonoosuc River, like I already said, feeding the Connecticut River. We also got the Saco River watershed on the other side of this mountain, feeding the Saco River out there in Maine. And most of the southern end of the range drains into the Pemigewasset River, which joins up with the Winnipesaukee River and becomes the mighty Merrimack, the river that functionally kickstarted the Industrial Revolution for the United States, tragically. But enough about that. That was all I wanted to say. We're going to keep going on because we got a lot of cool stuff to see today. Okay, yesterday I was not using I was a little bit wonky with my altitudes. Today I promise to be better. And we're just stopping for a second here because we got a plant we didn't see in bloom yesterday. We got a Streptopus and Plexicalis here. Let me zoom in there. Remember the lily family, this one actually, here, these ones look better. Got those weird little lilioid flowers clasping at an angle there. Kind of nice. We seen lanceolatus, Sartopus lanceolatus earlier this season. I don't know why it's going off here, but it wasn't going off on Mount Hale. But it's pretty nice. Just to give you a better appreciation for the form factor of this plant, it's got a pretty weird factor. No basal leaves, one colline leaf there, clasping. That's where it gets the name Amplexicalis. The common name of this is clasping leaf, twisted stalk, which I mean makes sense. Look at the underside of those leaves, nice and glaucous, in the parallel venation, thus giving away, well, not the only thing giving away the fact that it's a monocot, but a strong hint that this is in fact a monocot, and indeed it is a monocot. A nice member of the lily family. Kind of get flowers almost vaguely similar to the Mediola, another member of the lily family, but it wasn't giving this guy a fair shake. Now that he's in flower, I might as well take a second to appreciate him. I've already made it like a half a mile in. I've gone from about 2,400 feet now to 3,000 feet. And yeah, we'll just keep on keeping on. So remember what I said yesterday. Died near this spot, 1928. Only half a mile from the cog, and the cog was there. December 4th, 1928. 100 years ago. People have been kicking it on this mountain and this mountain range for over 100 years. I would have edited in the list in the last video, but I normally don't participate in building cairns, but this is you know, a specific memorial, so I'll contribute to it. You know, this mountain took a life less than a week ago, so I'm bearing that in mind. Today it's probably going to be nice. It's going to be windy, but it's probably going to be nice. I looked at the summit forecast, mid 40s. Oh, there's a Clintonia. I've seen a whole bunch of Clintonia. And then the Cornus canadensis too. But you never know. It can turn on you in a dime. I've got a full winter kit packed right now. I've got spikes, I've got winter jacket, winter gloves, got rain gear, got food, got a means to start a fire, extra batteries for my phone. Everything I could hopefully possibly need. Sometimes it's still not enough. Alright, I gotta put this camera down. So yeah, treat the mountain with respect, because that's what that's all you are to nature. Those trees are a lot sturdier than you are, and look what happened to them. Look, you got trees growing where there's no soil. It's just a mat of moss with a constant steady drip of water running underneath it. But apparently Suga canadensis and Sorbus americana do not mind. Look at the fucked up, weird, twisted form that hemlock is taking. You know, this is the type of pressure these guys are dealing with. Oh, you got some little dainty violets down there. No clue what kind these are. There's like 5 or 6 different species that all grow up on the mountain. Some of them are quite rare. These are not the same violets that get grown on my lawn. You can see the moss with those strobili out, those reproductive structures. Looks a little bit like red sphagnum moss. Maybe it is. Certainly plenty of sphagnum moss on this mountain. They take a picture of those little violets. I don't know, did I say roses? I meant violets. Those are violets. Viola, in the order Malpighiales. Weird order. Violets are kind of boring, but when they're growing, you know, 3,200 feet on the side of a rock, they're a little bit more interesting to me. Yeah, they got something going on up there. It looks like Morcoptis trifolia on top of the mire. And like I said, there's no soil here. This is just rock and moss. Kind of like a bog, but instead of being underlain by a body of peat, this is just granite, schist, or gneiss. One of the three. Actually, most of Mount Washington is schist. Schist and gneiss, not granite. You go over to the Franconia Range, that's all granite, including the Cannon Cliff, which is just a giant 1,000 foot tall by 1 mile wide exposed granite face. How freaking cool is that? It's tiny little mossy violets. Take a picture of those and we'll keep going. We're making good time so far. You know, if you're from the Rockies or the Sierras, or maybe even the Cascades, I don't know. I know it's pretty wet up in the Cascades, so I doubt the Cascades, but certainly from the Rockies and from the Sierras, it's really hard to explain to people from out west just how wet these mountains are. It is not raining right now. It did not rain last night. It did not rain any of the last few days, but these mountains just retain so much water that drains both from snowmelt. Yes, still snowmelt here at the end of June. There's still patches of snow you go far enough up. And it certainly does rain frequently in these mountains, catch a lot of mist and fog. But yeah, you're essentially walking in a stream. I mean, that's what we're doing. We're walking up a ravine right now for a river. But yeah, it's pretty damp here in the White Mountains. It's a big, if you look at a rainfall map, there's a big concentrated spot right where the White Mountains are. A lot of moisture up here. Pretty much constantly wet year round. That's what we're going to be heading up. Okay. We didn't see this guy yesterday. We saw him up on Tecumseh earlier this month, but this is Sambucus. I think this is Sambucus racemosa, the red-berried elder. You also get Sambucus nigra, which is the black-berried elder, which is elderberry. I mistakenly, foolishly, I wasn't paying it. There we go. Look at those weird flowers there, man. Covered in bugs. They must like it. But yeah, I mistakenly thought this was mountain ash. Mountain ash has the, pinnate leaves there with the white, umbel of flowers. But the flowers look completely different, and even the leaves look different. The mountain ash, if there was one here. Oh, here we go. Here's a mountain ash. So you can see how, one could, if they weren't experienced with these two plants, make that mistake. But I've since learned and memorized, the difference between the two of them. This guy smells pretty good. Some of these are, I guess this is a compound panicle maybe. It's an interesting inflorescence. Some of them are going to fruit. Some of them are still flowering. Some of them are just opening up. And it'll have red elderberries on it, in a few months. It's a cool plant. Beautiful little flowers there. Adoxaceae, same family as viburnums. In fact, I think that Sambucus and viburnum are the only two genera in that family you get up here in New England. A lot of them, of course, tending to occur in western or upland or mountainous areas. Coming up with the Clintonia. Yeah, we're at 3,500 feet right now. And I don't think we gain much elevation between here and there. But we're about to ascend probably about 1,000 feet in a really short period of time. Getting closer to that cloud cover. Oh, I don't know what's going on with the camera there. So we'll see what happens. They did say, why do you keep doing that? They did say winds to be expected between 25 and 40. So we'll take what we can get. I can deal with the wind, and I can deal with not having a view, and I can even deal with the rain. But if we're dealing with, wind to allow for me to talk over, worse yet dangerous, we won't go up. If we're dealing with visibility so short I can't see the trail, we won't go up. And if the rains become driving and oppressive, we, again, you guessed it, won't be going up there. Yeah, this is what they have you dealing with up here, my friends. Oh, hey, check it out. Sorbus americana in bloom down there. Not that I'm gonna go get to it. In bloom up there too. That's a good sized one. Oh, it's coming up behind a different tree. But maybe we'll see the Sorbus americana flowers. Let's hope. Yes, that's what you call pretty nice. This water is clear and freezing. And in all honesty, you could probably drink it and only have to worry about the heavy metals and radon leaching out of the rocks here, because that's certainly here in abundance. Maybe I'll go for a swim later. Probably not, considering that this is mostly made up of snowmelt. We're going to continue on. I remember crossing this. I actually hiked this trail as a teenager when I was like 13. I didn't make it to the summit. We stayed overnight at the hut we're going to be stopping at, but the weather caused us to turn back. I did get to go up Monroe, which we're going to be doing today too, but hopefully we get up the big guy as well. What a beautiful little picturesque mountain, what'd you call that? Mountain rail? That's gorgeous. Okay, so we're going up the slide now. It's getting steep. Finally, I have a low enough specimen to show you what we're looking at here. This is Betula cordifolia, not Betula papyrifera, the paper birch, even though the bark looks just like it. And the way you can tell the difference is you see those leaves up there. They've got that heart-shaped leaf base, which paper birch doesn't have. Got the double serrated margins, like all, doubly dentate, or however you call it. Like almost all members of not Betulaceae. Well, actually, yeah, a lot of members of Betulaceae do have it, the birch family, but certainly the genus Betula. Had this been Betula papyrifera, you would have almost identical bark there, but you'd have a somewhat, different leaf shape. The bottom would be flat or rounded, and I believe the tip is slightly more acute on those, but they are closely related. This one, I believe there's been plenty of times where I pointed out birch trees and said, oh, that's Betula papyrifera, but cordifolia, as it turns out, is the one that does a bit better up on the mountains. In fact, I think one of the other common names for this, other than heart-leaved birch, is mountain paper birch. But you do certainly get these two together. There's a juvenile here. You can see the lenticels on the bark there, real nice. Before they turn papery, a lot of birch trees start off when they're juveniles with almost that same lenticels being those little corky marks, dark bark. Which is odd because it's kind of looks like the bark on the hemlock next to it. There's the birch, there's the hemlock. Of course, the hemlock is a conifer, and it's going to have a much different growth habit, and it's not going to start doing that upon maturity. All right, we are at almost exactly 4,000 feet here. In the last half hour, we just come up all that down there. We just ascended about maybe 800 feet in the last, oh Jesus, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes. We're making good time. We're about maybe half a mile in terms of just pure mileage from the hut up there, but a solid another 1,000 feet in elevation. So we'll probably be doing this for another 45 minutes or an hour or so. Just going up the slide here. Got a nice waterfall there. Got some tortured Suga canadensis. Got some tortured hemlocks here. Actually, is this even a hemlock or is spruce? This might be a oh, that's a hemlock. Yeah, nothing growing around the ridge. And this one's a kind of a big bastard. He looks like he kind of got twisted and contorted. And we'll be seeing a lot more of that because the forest is thinning out here. And we still got a ton of hemlocks, still got some of the birches hanging on. But pretty soon, in the next 500 feet elevation or so, the forest will change dramatically. The deciduous trees will completely dip out, and we'll be looking at nothing but, you'll see some residual hemlocks hanging on, but then it'll be nothing but the Picea mariana and the Abies balsamea, the black spruce and the balsam fir. And then a whole new community of plants in the understory, or I shouldn't even say understory because there will be no understory. Eventually, even that Krumholtz that we'll get up into in about 500 feet will give way to, alpine tundra, and then up on the summit we'll be in a subarctic climate where basically only see lichen growing. You would get other stuff growing up there in spite of it being subarctic, but it's the wind that really does the number on a lot of the plants, not necessarily the cold. Not always. The cold certainly is a factor. And then down there, that's where we came from. That's the Cog Railway starting point. I don't have to hear that stupid train whistle going off anymore. And actually, if I can maneuver my way over here, you can see just through the leaves there, right about there. That was where we were yesterday. That's Mount Hale. Way in the distance. We're already... I would walk up at the top of that rock is basically the elevation of the peak of Mount Hale. And we still have 2,200 feet to go before we hit the summit of Mount Washington and about 1,300 feet to go before we hit the summit of Mount Monroe. You can see the Twins, which are just under 5,000 feet across the way there. That's a different range on the other side of Crawford Notch. That's in the clouds too. So far, the wind has not been that bad. Of course, that's subject to change. I read the report. Originally for today, it looked kind of shitty. But I guess they said, still expect the winds, but it'll be intermittently cloudy. It'll cloud and clear and cloud and clear. And then I guess they got a high pressure system coming in over the weekend, and they're due for some fantastic weather this weekend, just about a week after they got a snowstorm. So such is life in the alpine habitats of New England. Or, I mean, I guess, you know, northern New England. All right, I'm going to have a snack, and I'm going to keep going, because I'm feeling pretty confident about the time I'm making, and I want to maximize the amount of time I have up there in the alpine. I don't want to be rushing around and then having to bumble my way back down, because I got to come back down this. I guess I could take the Jewel Trail, which is less steep, but, you know, no views on that trail, really. All right, I'll check back in with you in a bit. A rhododendron going off up there. Could be one of a couple species I can't get close enough to really inspect it. But Ericaceae has a lot of diversity on this mountain, so we'll be seeing hopefully plenty more where that came from a little bit higher up. Okay, we've got 3 really nice, closely related plants here growing, you know, right along the edge of the trail here. We're still up at about 4,200 feet maybe, and we've got a rhododendron. I believe this is Rhododendron laponicum, although it's not growing prostrate, so this could be one of the several other rhododendron species that grow on the side of the mountain here. Beautiful. Looking like it kind of got a beating recently. None of these flowers are entire. These are the leaves of it. Kind of soft for a rhododendron. You know, this could actually be Rhododendron canadens, just smaller. Rhododendron canadens grows up here too. In fact, I think that's what it is, because Rhododendron laponicum grows prostrate, and I don't think that that's going to compete down here. So I'm going to go with canadens. I'm only thrown off because canadens is done down at sea level. We have another species of rhododendron, not in bloom. This is Rhododendron groenlandicum. You could tell that because it's got those intensely hairy, copper-colored, fuzzy undersides. Leaf texture is much rougher. And then these guys are not... I saw some in bud, so I don't know, maybe this spot they're not blooming. Maybe they'll be blooming further up. And then we have a species of Kalmia. You'll note those leathery, opposite leaves. This is not Kalmia procumbens, which also grows here. This is Kalmia polifolia, I believe. I could be mistaken, but I think that procumbens grows much more prostrate than this. And then, you know, the bog laurel, polifolia, is notable for having those opposite leaves, and just the really, really small, leathery ones. I'll double check all this. I mean, I'm blowing my own mind here right now, but rest assured I'll double check on this. So you got at least 3 species of Ericaceae, 2 of them certainly rhododendrons, and 1 of them certainly a Kalmia. You got a blueberry going off here. Certainly a species of Vaccinium. A couple of different ones that this could be. Still going off. Just looks like it just opened up. How about that? There's a couple different ones it could be. Keeping up with the ericaceous theme. I told you about the ericaceous plants. And yeah, I think this is definitely Rhododendron canadens, just growing a bit smaller than it does down at the lower elevations. Okay, so the trees are starting to already taper off. We're at 4,200 feet, like I just said. And down here, we got that rhododendron I was talking about before. White ericaceous flowers, kind of small in this guy. They can get showy, like the Rhododendron canadens can, but I don't have a Rhododendron canadens right next to me to show you. White rhododendron flowers. You get guys in there. How you doing, guys? Oh, those are the black flies. Wouldn't be surprised if they pollinate it. And, you know, you can just readily tell Rhododendron groenlandicum from those freaking crazy undersides, dude. And it's always going to have white flowers. Beautiful, beautiful plant. I'm trying to grow some of this from seed right now, because it's this grows down in the Pine Barrens of New Jersey. This is not necessarily a high altitude plant, but you do find it at the high altitudes up here in the White Mountains. So you can see, as promised, we're hiking basically up a river. This totally isn't sketchy at all. What do you mean? We're gonna go up that way, not that way, thank God. Cloud cover is coming in. Actually, I shouldn't say cloud cover is coming in. We're heading up into the cloud cover. Cloud cover's been up here since I drove in this morning. All right, I gotta focus so I don't break a bone or some shit. Here we go. We'll be nice and sheltered for a little bit longer up in there. Ah, geez, it's not in flower, but here's one of the 2 endemic species known from this area. This is, unless this is that other species of GM, which actually, no, you know what? I don't think this is Pecii. I think this is that other species of GM. GM Rivali, I don't know. I can't tell without the flowers. I'm kind of lost. They have similar looking leaves, similar texture, but the flowers look completely different. Reval's got these nodding little red flowers, and then Peckiae has showy yellow, excuse me, Avens flowers. But that's certainly a geum. Which one it is, I'm not entirely too sure. Maybe we'll see more of it. But if it was Peckiae, I'd imagine to be flowering right now, because Reval, I think flowers a little bit later in the season. Oh, look at that. Look at that kettle hole right there. Caused by the water swirling around in there. You know, this entire mountain is eroding very, very rapidly. And it's doing so right in front of our eyes. In fact, the entire mountain range that we find ourselves in is eroding quite rapidly. Might not be here in another, 2 million years. That fast, yeah. I think it's about a quarter inch per decade. I don't know. So I'll relook up the math. I know they did a study on it. We're getting there. We are certainly getting there. I mean, you can see from here, we're in the transition right now between the, kind of boreal forest with some hardwoods, some young hardwoods hanging in there. Some of the birch trees. Mostly, I think the hemlocks have just about tapped out. Now we're looking mostly at Picea mariana. And then some balsam firs. I think it's a balsam fir behind me. Or is that a hemlock? I don't really know. Not paying attention. I think that would be, balsam fir right there behind me, actually. Got the lentils, soft, not spiky foliage, flat too. Upside down cones, like a fir tree does. And, I think we'll be in the clouds. I don't think we'll have much of a view in another, 500 feet of elevation, but that's okay. Because everything we really care about is going to be pretty much prostrate with the ground. As you do when you, basically have 8 months of winter and 100-mile-per-hour wind gusts year round. You tend to grow a little bit strange. I should probably explain that that's why the ericaceous plants, the kalmia we've seen, the rhododendrons we've seen, the blueberries, thrive in basically what is an environment without a substrate and without nutrients, but one that gets a ton of sun, or a ton of light, I should say. It's usually overcast, but still, big difference between overcast out in the open and overcast under a blanket of trees. Although, some of the vacciniums do fine in the shade. I digress. They like the sun, but they don't like the warm, or at least the ones that grow up here. And they, they like the moisture. That's why they tend to favor these open, high-altitude environments and then bog environments where it's also open. A lot of the plants in that family are very light demanding, but they don't really need a lot of nutrition in their substrate or a substrate at all. So I'll stop yammering, and I've been delaying the inevitable enough because we're almost up into that alpine zone, which is going to be pretty nice. Just below 4,400 feet, you get some of the alpine grasses, which I didn't care to look into much. Although Bigelow sedge is one that's definitely worth knowing if you're gonna spend any time up in the mountains, because that's basically the only place you're gonna find it is up here in the Whites and on Katahdin. But definitely Kalmia polifolia, the bog laurel, which is another one, if I didn't say before, grows down at the lower elevations too. This one's just getting started. Looks a lot different than angustifolia, which we've seen a million times, which has those whorled leaves that are a little bit bigger and not nearly as leathery. What's the underside of that look like? Ooh. Fuck, I broke this guy. I'm sorry, guy. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. But this one's just getting started. 200 feet down. That one looked like it was just finishing up. But I suspect the location at which it's growing has a little bit more to do with that than the purely just the altitude. You get some more, looks like growing over there, not flowering. And then you get some over there on the ledge where they might be getting a little bit more sun flowering. I should say this is actually the north. This is the north slope of the mountain here. So this is getting the least amount of sunlight and the most, it's probably, where the snow lingers. Well, actually, no, the snow lingers in Tuckerman's the longest, just because it's a deep glacial cirque and this is a relatively shallow but steep ravine. This was carved out by water. Tuckerman's was carved out by glacier action. And I just want to compliment the fact that there are absolutely no bugs biting me right now. So we shall continue on. And hey, look, you got a ribes going off. I think this is a skunk currant, whatever they call it. I forget the scientific name. Ribes something. That's pretty nice. We seen this yesterday, but it wasn't going off still. Now it's going off up here. That's cool. I like ribes. Ribes is nice. Okay, so it's not open yet, but yeah, that's definitely Giampecii, an endemic member of the rose family, only known from the White Mountains. I seen it fully in bloom. There's another one down there. Fully in bloom on Cannon Mountain this time last year, but I guess it's just been ever so slightly too cold for it. Oh no, it's up there. Hang on a second. It's up there, guys. I see it. Okay, so real quick, I'll show you Giampecii in a second, but we got a dwarf little vaccinium here. This is the dwarf mountain cranberry, Vaccinium vitis idea, and it's a specific subspecies that's all shrimpy like this. None of the little flowers appear to be open quite yet. Oh, yeah, down there. Originally, I thought this for a second could have been the Kalmia procumbens, but it's not. This is a little bit more common, and this grows at lower elevations, but it's a different subspecies. Pretty neat. And give me 1 second, I'll scramble up the side of the mountain here and go get you some video of that Giampecii. Okay, so here we go. One of our, oh, there's one down here. I'd rather show you this one. One of our big winners for today, Giampecii. Giampecii, everybody. Endemic to the White Mountains and to a couple little islands off the coast of Nova Scotia. Now, to me, what that tells me is that at one point the range was probably a lot larger for this, and it contracted as the glaciers retreated. Lead them grow on land to coming up right there. Behind me, just a path of it. It clearly enjoying the mountain runoff habitat here. Pretty cool to see. A lot of these plants probably also had much more widespread distributions at one point before, you know, or as the glaciers retreated, and now they're all relegated basically to an island in the sky, 6,000 feet above the surrounding area, although we're at 4,500 feet right now, but you get the idea. Whew. Yeah, we're pretty deep into the Krumholtz now. Just, oh geez, I mean, I guess there's some birches hanging on, but mostly just Picea, Mariana, and Aves balsamea. We're almost up on top of the Presidential Ridge, so it's called. No clue what the elevation is here, maybe 4,700 feet, maybe not even that high, but it's been mostly a scramble to get up here. I mean, you saw it from down below, and then over there, just more of that Krumholtz. Right here, you know, it's a little bit more sheltered, so the trees are hanging on, but as you can see across the way there, such is not the case. Just piles of schist, gneiss, and granite boulders tumbling off the mountain. I can actually see the, I won't bother zooming in, but you can see the cog railway tracks over there, unfortunately. I think it's an eyesore. You will get up there, you'll see it's fucking Disneyland up there. People drive up this mountain, you can take the cog up. You can have somebody drive you up in like a van. I'd rather climb it, you know, keep it preserved. Yeah, that knob is just about the where the ridge starts, I think. So it'll flatten out for a bit, and then the actual peak of Mount Washington, it looks like a big you know, dome on top of the ridge. You'll see it. Okay, I'm actually running out of storage. I'm gonna try and conserve this because I'm hoping we're gonna see Potentia robinsiana. We're not quite there yet, and there's a couple other plants I'd really enjoy getting to see too. Minuardia growing landicum is one of them. Diapensia laponica is another. The Kalmia procumbens is a third, and then obviously Potentia robinsiana make up the rest of our target species from the peak of the mountain. We had already seen the that Vaccinium vitis idea, however you pronounce it. So I'm gonna end up deleting some of the footage from older videos I'm not planning to do just to make more storage when I get to the hut, but for now, let's just do our best to conserve it. You got a dwarf willow blooming here. Look at this guy. I forgot, there's actually a ton of members of Salicaceae, I think specifically within the genus Salix, that grow up at elevation. But I wouldn't know it. I wouldn't pay attention to the foliage, but that's a willow. Look at the catkin there, all those anthers. Oh, it's wet. Pretty neat. I'll be able to figure out what species this is. I don't know right now, but that's a willow right there. That's kind of cool. Kind of a weird one here. Veratrum viridi. a plant pretty common in like lowland bogs. There's a smaller one over there. Not in bloom yet. I don't think these bloom till later on in the summer up here. But apparently, evidently doing just fine in the Krumholtz. I knew this plant grew up here, but I was, one of those things where I'll believe it if I see it. I believe this is in Melianthaceae. I think this is in the same family as Trillium, but I'm not too sure on that. This is a plant I've never seen before. I'm not familiar with, other than knowing it grows in low wetland areas. Looks almost tropical. Looks completely different than the, compare that to the nasty Krumholtz pines and not pines, spruces and firs, and then everything else growing, grass and matted. What an odd duck.